All right, welcome back to the shop. Weekend before Christmas, I got to sneak down here and do a little bit of work. So today's video will probably be pretty short, I think. But what we're going to do is work on the rudder and fin. Um, you know, we're coming along pretty well here. So next piece is the rudder and fin, and then it's a bunch of odds and ends. It's fitting up the nose ring. It's making the battery hatch fit nicely. It's making a canopy. It's piecing in the sides that got cut out, for the horn. Really, it's a lot of little cosmetic things that you got to just kind of take your time and do and make them fit right. And then it's really down to the finishing. I mean, sanding out the fuse. I was sanding the other day just to see, and you could see where any of the silver's left over. So it's not too bad. This fuse was molded a couple years ago. Gotten better at molding them, so there is some spots I'm going to have to address where the fiberglass did adhere. I mean, that's just really putting some pin marks in it and pushing a bunch of thin CA, pushing it down and sanding it out. If you don't address them, I will tell you this, they will show up, especially the first time you put them in the sun, they will expand and show up if they're not attached. Believe me, I know for sure. All right, so we'll move the camera angle here and get started. All right, so first you got to decide what kind of rotor shape you want. Um, nice to take like a folder and you make them, and what I'll do is I put tape around the edges. But I've kind of settled on one I kind of like a little bit. I have a bunch of different ones that I've used on different planes, and I store them all. But I kind of found out I like this shape on it. I think it looks presents well. Really, the rudder, it comes down to a little bit of what do you like? It definitely has a function, but it's really like to look like. All right, so I got a couple pieces of 3/16. I use 3/16 in the rudder. This is 4-pound wood. I got some really light 3/16, which it works perfectly for especially anything on the back. The lightest wood you want to put on the back, if possible. That is, it will be made of balsa and then covered with carbon bale dope. Now, kind of lay it out. Now, what I'm going to do is make sure I'm running the grain a certain way. Like, you don't want the grain to run this way. The grain runs that way, it's too easy if you bump into it, to snap it right off. So I want the grain up and down here. Turning the grain this way on the back. But then I thought about it, what if I need to I'm not going to make the rudder adjustable, but if the grain's running this way and I decide to make it adjustable, it's just a simple slit. I can put it in there if for some reason I need it. All right, so I got a bunch of scrap pieces here we're going to label. I'm just going to kind of lay it out. So, like for example, I just lay it out like that. This will be put together in a couple pieces. So that's one piece. And what I kind of do is just mark the template a little bit. I'm going to cut this out, and I'm going to leave it bigger. I'm going to cut the outside line. When you get down to the end, really be careful because you can easily pull it away. So everything you do is you can actually cut into the grain like this if you go into it this way. Right. So that's my front half. See how this plays out. I should have done. Again, when cutting across the grain, always better to cut in. They're less likely to fall. And cutting on these mats help as well. Let's work the seam a little bit. Let's see if I can make this piece where. Nope. Oops. All right, so at some point I got to go in the other direction. And I can piece another piece here, but I would rather do that. It's not wise. Okay, that'll work. And I'm going to cut through both pieces there. Again, it don't have to be perfect because you're gonna. I need more angle on it. All right, hold on. Yeah, we're gonna have to clean up that edge. I know that for sure. Okay, so now cut this off over here. And a good sharp 11 blade always helps. So I always save these little scraps, especially really late wood. You never know when you need it for something. Right now, we're gonna have to fit all these up to glue them together. So we're gonna have to sand them in straight. You want to make sure you cannot see a seam here. Make sure there's nothing on the table because it will, especially with soft wood, it will without a doubt. Now, what I'll do is I've done this trick before. I'm going to tape one side of it. So what I want to do is make the bottom square as possible. Now it gives me the ability to open it up like that, and I can run some fixating and close it up like that. Yeah. Same thing over here. Okay, why not? So I just got to square up this edge. Edge is nice and tight. Now check the other side. So these seams will show up as you finish the plane. So really work on getting those seams buried so you can't see them. Okay. So now if you look able to see this right now, you can't see the seams at all. You can't see where the grain stops and the seam goes up. So now, dude, we're going to open it up like that. I used to just put thin CA right on top, but they always end up with a hard spot there, um, which isn't a big deal, especially with soft wood. And what you find is soft spots when you get a little CA on, you get a hard spot on the soft side, you can end up having a divot, sanding a divot in the raw coal. All I'm doing is pulling off the dried CA off the top of the thick CA bottle. I'll tell you what, select the size paper towels are really good. Um, you don't have any, get them. They even have them break in this and then break in half, which is so much nicer. The little modern conveniences of things around here. So I open the seam. Just run a little CA in there. Close the seam. Wipe any excess off. I mean, you can do this with Alphatic if you want. That's always an option. Okay. Same thing over here. Wipe any of the excess off the seam. Sorry. So 220. I was 120. That leaves too many lines and more. Right. Same thing, just lightly sand. I could just barely feel the seam. Just sand the seam in so you can't feel it no more. And your fingers really play a big role here. Okay. So there's our rudder fin. Now we'll take our template and we'll kind of really just clean it up a little bit. We got some excess here for sure. Now I always make it a little bit oversized. So making sure you're holding it 90 to the table and just again holding it 90 to the table. Now I'm squaring up this edge. What I'm looking for there is to have it 90 to here. The ground and the edges here. So this is all roughed in now. And because this is round, what I'll do is take my kicker bottle. That's a good round surface. Okay. So now I'm pretty happy with the shape. Pretty very close to our template. We put away the wood. One of these days I gotta go through my wood rack and straighten it out. It's all the way back in the corner there. If I could get the video camera, I'd show you, but that'll be quite the camera. Now, so now what we're gonna do is we're going to take a look at this on the plane, see if we're happy with it. So first, we got to figure out on the plane where it's going to end up. Now, I haven't cut the back yet, so got to figure out where I want the rudder to start. I'm probably gonna have it start right at where the stab is. So I like it, maybe an eighth inch or a quarter inch back. Kind of like that. All I do is take a look at it. You like that rudder shape? I'm pretty happy with that. I'm gonna start it right here, right at the front where the leading edge of the stab is. Run it back. Now what I gotta do is I gotta start shaping this a little bit. What I like to do is I'm gonna add a 1 millimeter carbon rod here, just to really stiffen this up and to keep it pretty much dent proof. I've been doing it on the last couple of planes. I really like it. It gives it a nice, clean, sharp finished edge. And then I'll taper. I'm going to put some curvature in this and taper it back to it. So, get some carbon rod. I got a few pieces left. So the other thing I'm going to do is just make sure I'm happy with the radius here. It's long, purposely. It's about right on. All right, I'm happy with that. Again, I've used this rudder shape before, so I kind of know what I'm looking for. But what you can do is, if you're not sure how the rudder looks, and this is one thing I've done before, is take these, make a couple different shapes, you tape them on, and then put the plane about 60 feet away or so, and you can kind of look at it. Do you like the shape? All right, now I got a bunch of cut-off pieces. I'll use them up. And the other thing is you got to find the center line of this because you're going to taper. You're going to put the carbon rod in the center. You could put it to one side and shape it. You could airfoil it on the inboard side. I've always just left it right in the middle. I'm sure it makes some difference. I'm sure somebody will tell me it's. I'm sure somebody will tell me I'm doing it wrong, but that's all right. So I just push down a little bit with the pen to give it like a groove to sit in. I take a look at it, make sure you're in the middle. Now the trick is to be able to bend some of this. I don't love to be bent, but it will bend a little bit. So what I'm going to do is heat it on my heat gun. The resin will get soft, and you can bend it a little bit. Don't want the bend. I mean, we'll bend a little bit. That's all you need, a little. Some thin CA. Here's where you usually glue the hell out of your fingers to the pieces. Just using a Q-tip to help it kick off. I mean, you can use 2 millimeter rod, 3 millimeter rod. It's just add its weight, or you got to sand it out. So the choices are there. And a little bit around. If you don't get it perfectly bent around, it's okay. So I'll do is heat this one up a little bit, see if I can get a little bit of curve to it. How many times I glue my fingers to the fin, but let's actually harden up a little bit. What we're gonna do here, it doesn't want to stay. Now we use some thick CA. Little I'm just gonna glue my finger here for a minute. And I'll give that a second to let it really harden up, and then we'll just push it around the edge of it. All right. Not like gluing your fingers together. All right. Hell, sometimes it'll spring back and come off. All right. Glue my fingers there again. We don't edit out any of the things here. Nothing. I just run a CA down it. Okay. Now, next up, we'll have to stand the edges in, but what you got by that carbon is you got a really nice rigid edge that won't get dented or damaged, and it'll hold the shape really nice. All right, so next up, we're going to sand it out. All right, so now we're back. We go to the millimeter rod, 1 millimeter rod, carbon rod. Put it in. Now, what I'm going to put a mark, about 3/4 of it, take my finger and just kind of. What I'm doing here is just kind of giving me a guide to sand to. And it's really just to help me be able to feather this in the way I want to. Now, what's important here, or to make sure you got no gobs of glue or anything, um, one of the things I'll do is get a foam block to use because I don't want to dig in any dings or dents into the soft floor. And now we'll do is put it on a slight angle to start working as I'm going. I mean, the other thing you can do is you want to do a 26 blade. Is with a 26 blade, you can kind of hold on an angle and just take nice shavings up to that line. Especially when you're going with the grain, when you got to go across the grain, it's not going to work too. Um, hmm. You might have a planer too. You can just take a straight plane planer and plane on it. If I can ever find it. Ah, there it is. Hidden in plain sight. Of course, mine's got some crap on the bottom of it. Take a plane or two and just go down it. I definitely prefer to not the sand a little bit as possible. And what you see is you get almost up to that line, and the line you created, you can kind of just work it back. So collect that curve. And you're just eliminating having to sand a bunch of dust. It all depends on the shape you want. Like for me, I want it to be like to come to a point, and across the grain you can kind of what you do, run it across the grain this way. If you come that way, you're going to chip it. So what you can do is kind of, and you're really just roughing this in now. You'll look at it, you'll have a nice little edge. And then you can finish up the final by sanding it. Flat sanding you there. Right now, you got it kind of angled in, roughed in. Now you got to finish it off. And again, this is 220 on a block, and just kind of working it in. Just gonna turn on my fan here. So I do have an exhaust fan here in the top, which makes it really helpful. And as you get down to the finish, you want to just roll that line away. But you don't want to have a line here. You want to be round. And you see, you just start into it. Look at it a couple different ways to make sure you got the shape you want. And you work the next side of it. What you want to do is hold your block on the same angle. And as you're working it, just keep looking, make sure you're getting the shape you want in it. This is a little bit tricky part right down here. This is where this is going to come in really handy. Again, same thing. The wood is so soft that you could pick up anything on the sandpaper block and it will sting into it. So you got to just really sand lightly. If you want to put deep gouges in, you got to fill. Okay, so one side is sanded and repeat on the other side. You'll see the line start to disappear. If the line starts to disappear, just roll the edge in. Again, rolling the edge. And having something round is really helpful. So just make sure it's all symmetrical. Got to pay a little bit more attention in the front here. Now I really just want to finish up this edge. Make sure there's no lumps in it. Look down it. Make sure you got it the way you want. It's a bit hard to sand because it kind of wiggles around. So I put my thumb on it, your finger on it, and kind of just working it. Just trying to make sure I got a nice uniform thickness around it. And it gets real thin down in the front. Now, what you want to do is make sure you get the shape you want. And you can run your finger over without feeling anything. Anything you feel will be a pain later to get out. Now, what I do is take a little thin CA and spots that I don't love. So a little spot right here where the two carbons meet, see a gap. So what I do is just take a little thin CA. And then what I'll do is sand in here to get some of the carbon dust to go in there. So it's going to form up what I want. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. All right, so taking some 320 now in one of my little blocks. I'm just going to clean everything up. What I'm really doing is paying particular attention to the team, make sure they're buried. So again, using your finger, so there's the fin. Now, out of curiosity, let's see how much of it is. 0.2. So what I do is take pictures of parts with the weights on them, so I just always have a rough idea. I think I said 0.5 for this piece, so I'm saving a bunch here. But I always thought it was probably like 0.3 was probably the right number for it. All right, now what I'm gonna do is take some thick CA and I'm gonna put it over the edges. I just really want to harden up this edge because it's thin. I mean, this will get carbon bail on it, but I just want to harden up that edge between the carbon and the balsa because the balsa gets real thin. Same thing on this side. So once you get the shape the way you want it, then what I'll do is I'll just take some 320 on my hand and just knock down any high spots. Keep the paper towel moving. If you stop, you're going to stick the paper towel to the piece. And what you do is give it you got to give it a minute or two to dry up. Now you've hardened up that edge. Like I said, I lightly sand that in with some 320, probably on my hand. Yeah, but it's still 0.2. 0.2 ounces. Should have measured it in grams. It's 0.6 grams. Maybe it was 0.5 grams before the stock. So this is just a light sanding, just to knock down any high spots. The CA. What happens is the CA will go on, and the grain will kind of pop up with it a little bit as it hardens. Being careful around the front. And now you really just want to stand on the CA, not the balsa. The CA pot is harder. I mean, it's not a big deal. You just end up having you can end up building a gully or a divot. Then using your finger, you just want to make sure there's no high spots. really rough spots. To the other side now. And again, you're really concentrating just on the CA. What I do is kind of just work from the edge and just let the paper kind of just blend it. Okay, just really working on blending it. Yeah, I'm just feeling to make sure I got no rough spot. All right, there's the rudder. It's ready to go on the plane. I thought this was going to be a short video. I guess not. So now what'll happen for finishing on this? I mean, we'll attach it to the plane, but what we're going to do is we'll run some epoxy on it, heat it up, wipe it all off just to seal the grain. And then I'll get a couple coats of soap and then some carbon bale to kind of fill it into the grain. And just add a little bit more rigidity to it. But overall, pretty good. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to work on setting it up to the plane. I kind of know, I know where I want to start with it. Here's what I'm going to do. Stick a piece of tape on the back there. All I'm going to try and do is just line up where I'm going. We're not going to change it really else. All I'm doing is get it to be where I think it's going to be. I'm going to more top the use. All right, so I got a mark on the fuse where I want to cut it. Now, what I'm going to do is turn the plane sideways, cut this, and really work on fit shot. These are really long, but just be careful with them. You don't want to crimp them here or anything. So the shot gets really small. Just readjusting the camera. So now I'm going to cut this right down here. So I do want to just glue this up right here. I do have a piece back here I got to fit in, which is fine. I could have done a little bit better job of fitting this top cap. I had to cut it down a little more. So, yeah, little gap on both sides, no address. Now, what I'm going to do is just want to double check this. But that's all right. All right, now I'm going to do the other side up. Using my zone saw here. So just cutting down on that line. Again, you want to keep it as straight as possible. Taking my block, 150, squaring it up. Now what I want to do is I want to address that little spot there. All right, so it's decent. The other side's already done. Should have took a little bit better time of fitting that up in the back. But it didn't. It's okay. Now, now, pretty good. So now the other thing we got to do is we got to close this in. So we got to close that in to be 3/16 of an inch. So we need a piece of 1/8 put in there. All right, now so what you want to do is squeeze it down. Yeah, bottom is easier to do, so we'll squeeze the bottom first. Now I'm gonna glue the other side. So now I have the tail post in. I'm gonna sand that in. Again. So here's a piece of fiberglass that's didn't adhere for whatever reason. So I got a couple spots like that, but all you do is you just want to make sure you get CA under the fiberglass and push it down. So let's get you to fit up here. Like this. Good. Now let's flip it over and do the other side. Same thing, kind of off camera a little bit. I'm just gonna go back here and sand it in. Actually, I'll flip it. So I flipped it this way. Short a little bit on evenness there, so we'll just put a little notch in there and cut it out. Same thing. Let's take advantage of this the dust there, kind of fill that seam. The seam wasn't perfect. Over here we got some loose. Again, this is the spot that it didn't adhere to. When you put the CA, you'll see it actually go underneath the loose fiberglass. and then so all I do is push it down. And I don't care if I sand through the fiberglass here. Now, we'll adjust the top in a second. Really nice fit up. Very nice. Now we'll do is we'll set it up on top. You got to work the top in. And again, you don't have those things on your bench or something to hold it sideways. It's very helpful. You got to work like this. Turn on side. It all helps. Now, what I want to do is just kind of clean up this edge here. I'll use 120 to start to kind of just really create a flat. What I'm looking to do is create the flat, so the 3/16, like a 3/16 flat. I'm pretty happy with that. Now this sits on a flat instead of being a rounded surface. So now we got to do is get it all lined up to start gluing it in place. So now this is a little bit of a pain, but I got some 90-degree triangles that I use to do this. All I'm doing is cleaning up the sanding here. It's just a little easier to sand. Make sure you have it flat there, especially back here where it's wider. Very good. So pretty happy with that. All right, now we just wipe some of the dust off. We need tape to kind of hold this in place to get it set up. There are times I flew the rudder on. I'm never happy with it. Now, anything, you always want the rudder to be cheated out, never in. I try to set mine up perfectly straight with zero. Okay, that's taped on. Now the other pieces, I gotta find them. All right, so I have 90s that I made. So we'll just double check them. But trying. And all I did was cut out the bottom so you can put it around the staff. Make sure they're 90. I'm just cleaning them up a little bit. I used to glue them on, like tack them onto the. I have to recut this one. Looks like. Very good. I'm just gonna recut them because they've been glued and sanded for that edge straight. This is a really good right. I got a straight edge up against it. I'm gonna do them on the. So what I'm making sure is that on my sander here, you can see me. I'm taking my triangle, going up against this edge, and making sure that 90 is 90, and it's not exactly. Machine is there, which is the one I like the best. Hold it up against the face of that, loosen this up. Now, 90 degrees. This is 90 degrees to that. If I check it, Good night. And it's always good to check that whatever you're using. Now, why am I using 90? My stab is, I know that it is perfectly level here, flat. So what you get is you get that, and then you're able to position it. So now the other thing to do is put in double stick tape. I used to actually tack glue these to the stab, but now what we're going to do is we're going to put it up against there. Up against. Now, so you see I got it on there, it's holding it at almost 90 degrees. Now I'll just put the other side on and force it together. All right, so it's touching on both sides. Now, what you got to do is take a look at it from all different angles. Like, are you lined up in the front? What you want to do is look down your plane. Are you exactly cool? If not, I can see it. It's got to come a little bit to the bottom. We've got to come this way. What you want to do is look down and you want to make sure it's not leaning one way, the other way. Doesn't look straight up and down in the plane. If I run my eyes down, it's perfect. It's got to go right about there. So I'm going to tack glue it in place, but I'm going to change the tip first. This tip is all like clogged. I'll end up sticking to the rudder. Look at it. Just gotta look at it a bunch of different times. So I'll tack it in place, and before I do anything else, I'll look again. I'll tack it in the back just in the spot. Like I said, I just really just tack it. In case I got to break it loose. And now what I'll do is pull these off. Really just get a good look down it. Okay, so it looks very good. It is slightly, there's a slight curve a little bit to the outside, which is good, which is fine. Which is what you want anyway. And we never want it to go in. So if it's gonna fold a little bit, so I'm very happy with that. So now I gotta glue it in a little bit more. And no good. I mean, we did a nice job of fitting up so the gaps were small. Just run a good glue seam there. All right, and the rudder and fin is on. Really starting to look like an airplane now. Yeah, just always looking at it. I'm very happy with that. All right, so that's all we got for today. I'm just some odds and ends. It's not really camera worthy, I would say. Cleaning up the intake holes, uh, doing the battery mount in, minor stuff like that. Sanding some of the nose ring. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Um, Again, I thought it was going to be a short video. It turns out to be almost an hour and 40 minutes long, so pretty long video. Um, but just really thanks so much for watching, everyone.